Hey y'all, it's your girl, Chi the Reality Queen, and I am back again with another episode of Robe Chronicles. Tonight, we're going to be talking about Summer House, Martha's Vineyard, episode 6. And this show likes to do this thing where they end it off with like a cliffhanger so the next episode could start exactly where they ended off. So this episode started out with Jasmine crying, and she's just talking about how hard it is being misunderstood because she's married and where she's at. I actually felt bad for her. I did. And I'm telling you, I feel bad for her because I don't, I know she wanted to be married. There's a lot of women who want to be married. And sometimes they allow that want to be married to make them do things that maybe they shouldn't do, right? Like, she wanted to be married. She was looking at her life like, oh, I'm getting older, I'm homeless, or whatever the case may be. And here comes this man who's ready for marriage, right? And the circumstance in which they've gotten to know each other, like I said, it was the pandemic. They didn't really know who each other was. And they got into this situation and they married, right? And so I think now that the world is a little bit more open and people can go out and do stuff, she's having a harder time being who she was because she got married and the person that she married doesn't know who she was. And so when she's trying to relate to these girlfriends that she has, she, is not relating to them because she is now under the thumb of this really controlling gentleman who has an idea of how he believes marriages should work. Maybe it's his Liberian background. Maybe it's just the beliefs of how his family was raised. Who knows, right? It could be whatever. And he has an idea of how his marriage and his household should be run and how his wife should behave and what she should do. Some antiquated ideas, but these are his ideas nonetheless. And she married him and she's otherwise okay with them. So I'm not saying that's the problem, but she didn't realize how that was going to extend to her relationship with her friends. And now she's figuring it out and it's not good, I don't think. It seems that Jordan kind of realizes that Jasmine got sucked into that, and you could see that she has a little bit of sympathy for her friend because you have to remember, this is her friend, this her girl. She calls her sister, cousin, or whatever, so they're really close. And even if she's being annoying, right, that's not who she was, so you're trying to understand who she was and who she is now, and then also kind of give her grace because that's your friend. We as viewers, we don't have to give Jasmine grace. We don't know that girl, right? But Jordan gives her grace because that is her friend. Bria, on the other hand, thinks she did it to herself and she has no sympathy, which I think we're kind of like, right? And we all know Bria isn't her close friend. Bria's closer with Jordan and Shanice. They show us that Jason apparently talks too much. And I got that sense. Every time Jordan is in confessional talking about, I'm going through real stuff. I got a 3-month-old. Like, sir, we get it. You have a 3-month-old. I think he has mentioned that every time he has gotten into the booth, the little confessional booth. So like, I could tell he's a little long-winded. It's a little long-winded. And it's so funny because even Bria was like, spit it out, because he just kind of talks in circles and he probably just likes to hear himself talk. I don't fault him. There's a lot of people like that. I'm like that. I like to hear myself talk. I don't talk over my friends and other people, but obviously I'm here making these videos for y'all. So I clearly like to hear. Actually, I don't like to hear myself talk. I actually hate the sound of my voice. Like, I cannot, editing these videos, I try not to do it because I hate having to listen to my voice. So it's not that I like to hear myself talk, but I think I have interesting points. So then in the car, Jason starts talking about how he knows 80 to 90% of women lose themselves in marriages. And Summer is there with like the little quick quips of shade. Cause she was like, is that something you Googled? Or like, do you know that? And he couldn't answer. He over here making stuff up because it sounds like something people would say, but who really knows what that actual statistic is? If you know it, drop it in the chat because I would love to know it. If that is even a statistic that they have taken, which I think they would have. What I thought was weird is like Jasmine goes to, I think she's talking to Jordan and she's talking about how she's like observing Simon because she's like, oh, I've watched The Tinder Swindler. And I'm like, girl, that's shade. Now, could Simon be a scammer? 100%. He could be. I don't know if he is, right? But I don't think he's like a Tinder swindler type scammer. Like, I think he's just your, you know, normal run-of-the-mill scammer, right? That we see all the time. Maybe his businesses aren't extremely straight, you know, just a little dash of scam and a little tinge of scam here, right? Nothing too crazy. But I don't think when she says Tinder swindler, it's like he's gonna play Bria, and I don't get that feeling from him. It seems that Jordan and Jasmine come to some sort of resolution. And I like that for them because, like I said, they're friends. Jordan knows who her friend is and who she was before her man. And maybe that's a conversation they need to have, and which is what they had, right? And so maybe she can kind of understand where Jasmine is coming from. I just think Jasmine was going way too hard on I'm the married girl bit, and it was annoying, right? We didn't like it. It was annoying. It was a lot. But, you know, if she can tone that down, it's funny because I watched the show. I don't care for Jasmine or Silas, but despite previously saying that I don't think they should come back, I do think they should come back because there has to be someone on the show that we all collectively dislike, right? And if Jasmine and Silas leave, like, who are we going to collectively dislike? I mean, Bria, yeah, she's drama-filled, but Bria makes the show, right? Like, she is drama-filled, but she's also the star, right? Because everything revolves around her. But I definitely can't imagine that there would be as many problems if Jasmine and Silas weren't there being their overbearing, controlling selves. So yeah, Shanice comes back because, you know, she comes back on the weekend. So she comes in. Honestly, I think that's a lot because I don't know where she lives, right? Regularly, but they already said Martha's Vineyard is hard to get to. So the fact that she's able to fly in every weekend, like that's a cheap flight. Like I want to know if, Bravo is paying for that or if she's coming out of pocket to fly in every weekend because, baby, sounds like an expense. But come to find out in the little confessional, Jasmine, Bria admits that her and Shanice had an OnlyFans. And like Simon's like, oh, I'm kind of weird about, like in his little accent, he's like, I'm kind of weird about Shanice and, you know, and it's because he knows that about her. But I'm like, why would you be weird about Shanice when your girl says she did it too? Like, did your girl, and let me tell you about women, y'all, because I am one. My friends are them. I know them. Sometimes women, to not sound bad in a story, will tell the man that they're talking to, right? They'll tell him a story. The man won't laugh, think it's funny. They'll maybe see it as a questionable behavior. And now that same woman who was very okay with the act will now try to push it off on someone else. Like, oh, well, so-and-so told me to do it, and that's why I did it. And that's the way it kind of came off. Like, Bria wasn't about that OnlyFans life, but Shanice was like, come on, let's just do it. And so the way Simon feels about it sounds like Bria kind of threw her under the bus. Whereas I don't think that Bria was completely against it. I think they probably both had the bright idea, let's do this because it's easy money. But they weren't doing porn and they weren't getting naked. So it's like, you're not going to really make no real cheese unless you're a celebrity, right? Then we get back to the house. Milo poops on the floor, summer season. She goes and she tells Alex, and Alex is like, house meeting. Please, guys, no more house meetings. I am tired of the house meeting. Like, are you going to vote her out? Are you going to, and you know, I feel like they told Alex at house meeting, then Alex told Silas goes to tell Preston, and Preston's like, I'm not meeting with y'all anymore. Like, I'm not doing this. And I am on Preston's side. I didn't realize how much I was going to love Preston. Like, he was likable in the beginning, but I love him. Like, he has all the sentiments I have in that house, or I think about the house, that's, he's saying them. I'm like, oh, thank God he's there to say everything that I think. Because it's like, we don't need to meet. Go tell that girl that her dog pooped on the floor and have her pick it up, or you pick it up if it's such a pressing issue to you. And that's what I like about him. He was like, Silas, you passed her room to come tell me and complain about it when you could have, one, told her, or two, just picked it up. Or had somebody could have picked it up. Like, we're making issues where there don't need to be issues. And I really, really like that he said that. He was like, I don't believe in this. Like, we are making issues that don't need to be issues. And as soon as Bria heard, she was shocked, appalled, and she went and she cleaned it up. Now, if she had treated it how she treated Mariah finding the dog's clothes in the laundry, then it could be like, okay, Bria, your dog is really a problem. But that's not how she reacted at all. She was really like, oh my God, went, picked it up, scrubbed the ground to make sure everything was all cleaned up. And it's like, okay, problem solved, right? Like, that didn't need to be the issue that it needed to be. But because of who Silas is, I mean, I'm not saying Alex didn't start it off, but it's like, Silas, why are you coming to complain when you could have just knocked on her door? Not saying you couldn't have talked about it afterwards, like, can you believe that girl? That's fine. But you bypassed her to make it, to get everybody riled up, to make it a big deal how you want it to be. And I'm so glad Preston was not picking up what he was putting down, and he cut it at the knees. It was like, no. And he was like, for real, LB? Like, okay, chill. He don't have to side with you on everything because y'all are line brothers. He don't have to. It is not by force. It's not. But anyway, so the ladies have a little spa day. I don't even know what the guys did during this time. I think they might have just been in the house, but the girls have a spa day. And like, you know, Shanice is talking how she still feels really awkward around Alex because of what Bria called her to tell her while she was gone, that Alex had Googled her and read all about her ex and all of that. And, you know, they're all really talking like, that never happened. Oh my God. And Shanice was harassed for 5 months. Now, do I believe that Shanice deserved to be harassed? No. But if Shanice was harassing that man, was that also wrong? Yes. And her friends are all acting like it didn't happen. And I'm like, you can't just make up a story out of thin air. I'm not saying people don't do that, but Shanice already admitted in a previous episode that some of the stuff was true. So it's like, okay, what's true and what wasn't? You didn't specify. They're acting like it never happened at all. And you and that man had no beef, no problem. And that's not true, right? So I'm just kind of like, Shanice, you act crazy or like wild, and that's okay. Like, I think, you know, Shanice is a fun girl. Like, I think Shanice gives the energy that Summer House needs, and the rest of them are like on 10 levels beneath her. Like, I'm not saying that everything she does is right, but she coming with the energy that we want to see on a show like this. But yeah, so it's just kind of weird that this ex thing is a problem for her, because I'm just like, girl, either say what happened, maybe because it went to court. I don't know if there was like a court or anything like that, but it's like, let's just move on. Alex, come on, talk to her about it. Like, why are you talking to her friends about it? Go to the girl and be like, I heard you did this and this and this. Is this you? Is that who you are? And then y'all can move on. So she wants to bring it up. And so she also talks about going on a date with a baller. And I'm like, wow, shout out to Shanice. But then they're supposed to have like a girls' night and a guys' night. And all the girls are like, we just want Jasmine to have a good time, not worry about Silas, and like, you know, get out there. So they go to each have their respective nights. The girls go out and have a blast. Like, it looks so fun. Like, I had to watch the scene where they fell into the grass because I was like, wait. The guy is giving them shots to leave the premises. Like, do you know how bad y'all was doing? If the guy's like, please just take these shots and leave. Like, we don't want you here no more because y'all acting up. But they had a good time. Like, it seemed like a fun, good night. Meanwhile, on the other hand, the guys are being held captive by Silas talking to them about how Jason is too nice of a guy that's going to end up finishing last because he cares about what women have to say. Silas, you're a pig. Okay? Like, just terrible. You over here telling him caring about what women have to say and talking to them for real makes him a nice guy that's going to finish last. Like, he should be out here having fun and sleeping with whoever. And it's like, and he's like, I already did that. I got a 3-month-old from that. And it's like, yeah, right? You're not going to. There are people who continuously do that and just have kid after kid after kid. But at least Jason has some like thought in his brain where he's like, hey, I don't want to keep doing that, because he feels some responsibility, right? So then that's the difference. So I do appreciate Jason for that. But it's like, Silas, you really like to control everything. You even want to control how people look at Jason. Like, that's so weird. Like, that's your thought. Okay, that's fine. My opinion is this, not this is what the opinion of you is going to be, Jason, if you do. Like, chill. It's okay. Then they find out that Silas came out after all the mess he was talking about, Jasmine going out, dancing on tables, getting free drinks, all this stuff. He goes out for the first guy's night without wearing his wedding ring. And he's talking about, oh, I forgot. Lying. He did that on purpose, because me, as someone who doesn't wear jewelry, it don't matter if I'm married or not. I'm sorry, I can't wear a wedding ring because I know I don't wear jewelry regularly. This watch is about as much jewelry as I ever got on at any given time. And it's hard for me to keep this on all the time. Like, I'm just not a jewelry person. But Silas, you're so traditional. Everything has to be so whatever that, you know, that's so important to you. You know what I mean? And he was like, just complaining about how things are off, like Jasmine's in vacation mode and he's still in go mode. They're literally on vacation, and he is complaining that his wife is on vacation mode because she burnt his breakfast, because back home she cooks the breakfast, she's up early and this and that. I'm like, he wanted a housemaid in the form of a wife, someone he could sleep with, but is also a housemaid. That is what he wanted, because seeing that Jasmine is having fun and having a good time, like, bothers him. And it's almost like, this is not what I paid you to do. And like, the ring is the payment and the marriage is the payment. It's like, girl, you getting paid to be my house help, not to go out and have fun and have a good time. Your payment is the marriage. Your job is to cook me breakfast, have sex with me, do whatever I say. And it's a very weird dynamic that I hope that if it doesn't work for Jasmine, she leaves the situation, right? If that is what she's okay with, right? Because you never know what somebody's okay with. If she is okay with that, that is what she also expects in marriage and is fine with that, more power to her, because I don't ever want somebody to, my opinion, to be like, oh, that's what you need to do. No, she perfectly fine with how Silas behaves, then we're all perfectly fine with how Silas behaves, because she's the one in the marriage. If she doesn't feel, you know, whatever, then great. But it's very interesting watching from the outside, and I think maybe if she watches it from the outside, she'll have a different perspective. But for now, I don't know. Then, while they're sitting at the table, a group sends them free drinks. It looks like they only sent 2, and they sent one to Silas and they sent one to Simon, which I think is weird because the table was all the men, Jason, Nick, Alex, Preston, right? So it seemed a little weird that they only sent 2, but maybe that was just how production edited it. And Amir was like, Silas, you can't have this drink because you said married people should never accept free drinks from people because it leads to other things. So I love, and I think it's because all of the men on the show don't really care for Silas, but they be holding him accountable. Him not wearing his ring, they was on his head. Him getting that free drink, they were like, you not drinking this. And I'm glad that they do that, because honestly, Silas is a hypocrite. Like, he wanted to drink that drink. And like Preston said before, and they all said, getting free drinks is fun. Everybody knows that. Somebody want to buy you a drink, it's like, little old me, really? Wow. Fun. But when you're so controlling, you can't even think about the flip side of it potentially even happening to you at any point. And that's what happened, right? It happened to him. And now he's over here wanting to drink the drink. And Amir was like, no drink for you. And I'm like, good, they needed to hold his self accountable. So then they all get back from the night out. Like the girls get back first. They go to the jacuzzi. Bria and Shanice are running around naked. They're having like a really good time. They're still drunk. They're, whatever. Excuse me. Ooh. And I don't know if they are told that the men are coming back, right? Because I don't know, right? They don't really show us everything. But the men come back and Bria goes and, her bathing suit top is on and she kind of gets out of the water and she's chilling. And then the guys, everybody's like, oh, you guys come get in the pool, whatever. And I think Shanice puts her clothes back on. But as soon as everybody gets back out there, she's naked again. And Bria comes out and loses her shit because Shanice is now naked in the pool with her man. Now, this is where things get interesting. She's mad that Shanice is naked in the pool with all of her friends and her man, and no one's saying anything, right? And her man is just there. Now, if this were me and my friend, I'd be like, wow, what the hell? Like crazy, right? But from the looks of it, this is kind of how Shanice and Bria operate, right? So this is why I'm torn on this part, because what Shanice did by most people's standards is wrong, right? Her behavior was deplorable. She shouldn't have been in the hot tub with someone else's boyfriend naked. Very weird, especially when the person isn't even there, right? Very weird behavior. However, since it appears that her and Bria are like that, right? Because she even said, she's like, in the past, it didn't matter. We went skinny dipping with our boyfriends and all like a group and all this stuff. So it seems like that's what they have always done and where they've always been at as a friendship. So for Bria to now be in this relationship in which she no longer wants to do those things, I think she needs to make that clear to Shanice that they're not on that type of time no more. Now, all the other people, maybe they never did that with Shanice, or maybe they know that of Shanice, and maybe that's why no one's reacting. So Bria wants other people to be mad for her, and it's like, no one can be mad for you because they don't know the type of relationship you and Shanice have. If I have just watched you and Shanice walk around here naked on the table, doing all this stuff, then my assumption is that's where y'all at, right? So I've seen a lot of teachers where people are like, oh, Shanice is this, Shanice is that, Shanice is this. I'm not saying that may not be true, but for her and Bria, that's the friendship that they've had, and it's worked for them. That's how they've been moving since day one, it seems. So Shanice doing that, it's kind of in line with what she's probably always done. So Jasmine, Summer, Jordan, they're all sitting there like, okay, and no man is gonna be like, cover your titties, girl. No, they gonna look too, But I mean, if we watch the playback, Simon turned his head. He wasn't trying to look, but it's like, if that's what we know of her, right? She already went out topless in front of a mirror. She was running around naked all over, So clearly she's somebody who's comfortable in her body. Bria, you too are also comfortable in your body, and that is what you guys have done. I don't think Shanice is in the wrong. I think that until you set that boundary with her, like after this situation, she gonna know, right? Like you have to set that boundary with her to be like, hey girl, I know that's what we usually do, but we not on that type of time anymore. Like I'm in a relationship where I maybe see something with this person and I don't want that type of thing to be going on. Whatever the case may be. But I do believe it needs to be clearly stated from Bria, because that was what they did, right? So if you're changing the dynamics of what y'all got going on, then it needs to be clearly stated to somebody like Shanice, because clearly she wild. But yeah, so then after that debacle, Bria's pissed. She tells Simon to get in the house, to get out of the hot tub, don't go back outside, or she's gonna be pissed. And that kind of pretty much ends the night. And so then Amir goes and asks Shanice, like, hey, can I sleep in your room. Oh, I forgot to say. Oh, this was my favorite part. Sorry. When they came back initially, Silas, while this was all kind of going on, Silas goes and asks Summer, like, oh, how was it? Like, did you guys see any guys, or, what was going on? And Summer gives the perfect response, because she responded to Silas like, you're dumb as hell. Like, we were outside, so yes, there were men. Like, what are you talking about? You think when we leave the house only women are there? Like, no, men are there. What are you talking about? And then he came and he asked Jasmine, like, what did you guys do? And honestly, Jasmine was like, I don't care what you guys did. And I'm like, thank you, girl. Because this man is trying to, like, I'm not saying that you guys can't have that conversation and know what you did, but he's not just trying to find out to be like, oh, what did you guys do? He wants to condemn you for it if you did something that was like bad. And then when they get into their room, he goes and tells her like, oh, someone bought them a drink and this and that. And she's like, oh, you could have been drugged. But I think she's like joking a little bit. I don't think it's serious. But then they go and they start doing their usual sex shenanigans in the closet. And Amir texts Shanice like, hey, can I use your extra bed? Because they going at it. And I'm like, that's so rude. And I'm not saying that they can't have sex and have fun. Obviously, it's Summer House. But it's like, come on now. Every night, people can't even sleep. Y'all need to have sex during the day when people out, so people can sleep at night. But yeah, then Bria, then the next day they wake up, Bria's still mad. She's going, or was it that night? I can't even remember what happened, but she was going around talking to everybody about what Shanice had done. Everybody just kind of sitting there looking at her. But then she goes to Preston, the only freaking voice of reason in the house. Shout out to Preston once again. He was like, girl, you are the common denominator to all the problems in this house. And she did not want to hear that. But I'm like, thank you. Someone had to say this to her, because just like Silas, who doesn't realize that he's controlling, Bria doesn't realize that she's manipulative and problematic. She does not see that about herself. She sees herself as this little cute, petite, fun girl that no one could ever be mad at because I'm so small. Like, that's how she sees herself. And it's like, girl, no, you are extremely problematic and you are the root cause of a lot of issues. Like, so I'm really glad that Preston called her out. Alex, Amira, Jordan, and Shanice go play tennis. And like, it's so weird because I don't know who said it. I think it was Alex. So that's why I was like, what the heck? They're playing tennis and Alex is like, oh, you guys aren't making enough sex noises for me. And I'm like, what? And it's weird because that's not the side of Alex that they're showing. So when they show these little clips of him saying things like that, I'm like, y'all gotta let his personality out. Like, unless he's hiding it from us as the viewer and it's not production, like, now these comments are coming out of left field. They're random. It's like, Alex, what are you talking about? You okay? You need to go do some yoga, baby? Like what? But they're very random. The house is planning to have a whole rosé day. They want to go and like, I guess Alex is going to drink. Like, I guess he drinks once a year, maybe. I don't know if it's an event or something, but they were like, oh, if Alex is going to drink, we got to go get bunch of bottles of rosé. Maybe I'm crazy. And maybe it's because they also plan to drink other things. But I feel like there's like 10 people in that house. So when they said 12 bottles of rosé, I was like, y'all might have to double that because y'all drink a lot. But maybe I'm just drinking too much myself, right? But I think that that's not enough. But yeah, so they're trying to set up and get everything ready. Bria's like, I'm not going because of what Shanice did and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, she is such a brat. Like, she's such a brat. It's scary. But like I said, I guess it makes good for the show. And so they're trying to get stuff set up. Shanice is like hungover from the night before. So she's not helping. Bria don't want to help because she don't want to go. Everybody's trying to move stuff. So Silas and Jason are moving the table from inside to outside. So they go to move the table and he's like over directing him on how to move this table. And Jason is like, please, let's just move this table. And he was like, I am not doing this to insult your guys' intelligence, but as a platoon leader in the military, I have to tell people what to do. And even when it seems like a basic instruction, I still have to tell them because you never know. And it's like, okay, this ain't the military. So, like, you given this long, drawn out explanation, but it means nothing because we are not in your platoon. So, don't talk to me like I'm a fool. Like, he talks to everybody like they're a fool, and everybody is over it. Jason's like, I'm not a kid. It's like, we can get the tape. All you have to do is say, turn to left, turn to right. Like, maybe you have a better view, and that's fine. But the way he over directs is like, you're so stupid that I have to tell you exactly what to do, or you're not going to do it right. And that's just so irritating because it's like, we're all grown here. You're not any more grown than me. Like, it's a table and we're moving it outside. It's not rocket science. Why are you trying to over direct me on it? And of course, Preston thinks he's too controlling. He's like, he needs to get a grip. And it's true. He needs to get a grip. I don't know. Like, I think someone had mentioned that maybe they pitched the show to Bravo or whatever it is, right? I don't know. But either way, they are trying to do too much and control too much, and it's getting to be too much, right? Like, we're all done with them. Yeah. So then, but he claims he's not trying to insult anybody's intelligence, but that's how it comes off. So then, Amir, I think Jordan and Alex are like getting ready, and Alex goes to Jordan like, oh, you looking thick. What, Alex? Like, you don't make these comments. Like, what are you doing? It's just so awkward. And I think Jordan felt the same way. She was like, oh, okay, I don't even know if this is a compliment. I don't know if you're talking bad about me. Like, and that's the sad part, that you don't make comments or you don't interact with people enough that they don't even know how you feel. Like, I don't know if you feel if this is supposed to be nice or if this is shade. Like, that's not a good place to be, Alex. Like, we need to see more of you. If this is who you are, then we need to see it. If that's not who you are, don't force it, right? Like, it's just weird. But then it gets even weirder. Because now that it's just Alex and Jordan, he goes on to tell her, like, oh, when we got into this house, you were assigned to someone. Alex, what are you talking about? Like, are you saying this because you want her to know that you're interested? Like, it really don't make sense what this conversation, what the goal of him telling this to Jordan is. Like, okay, maybe Amir was like, oh, I called dibs on this girl. I want her, whatever the case may be. But that was a conversation y'all had. And Jordan, if she doesn't know, it won't hurt her, right? But if you're doing this to kind of throw salt in Amir's game so you can get in there, that's weird, because just last episode you were talking about vibing with Sepper. So it's like you going back to Jordan. Like, I don't really know what's going on with Alex, and his character is kind of like weird, right? It's like, it's kind of off. And Jordan's really upset by this because she's like, you guys are talking about me like I don't have a say in who I want to talk to. If I want to talk to somebody, like, you can't just be like deciding for me. I'm off limits to these people. Like, but if those people are who I want, you can't just say I'm off limits to that or assign me to someone. And I agree with Jordan. And the thing is, Jordan is very pretty. And I can tell that she's very used to people only liking talking to her, dealing with her because of her looks, because she doesn't really know how to work outside of it, and she wants to. So I'm not saying that's her fault. I'm saying that's what people have given to her. And it's weird, right? But Alex, to be the person to bring it up is weird. I don't know what his intention is. And I feel like we didn't get a completion of that. Like, there was no resolution. And I'm hoping that we get one. Like, because if it's like, oh, he's trying to dirty Mac right now, then it's like, okay, that makes sense. I'm not saying it's right, but makes sense, right? He's dirty Mac, and that's why he's saying it. But it was just like, here's this random bit of information that I'm going to give you, Jordan. Do with it as you see fit. Like, there wasn't really any purpose to it. But yeah, so then they all are kind of sitting around. Everybody's looking for Shanice. She's getting dressed. And she comes out on the balcony with her top down, because it looks like she's wearing like a jumpsuit. And the top out, titties out. She's like, hey, everybody. And see, now, Jasmine's a little upset because her man is out there, and she's like, okay, what is she doing? It's weird because she's back naked again, but to her, that's who she is. She don't see no problem with it. And if y'all see that to be a problem as a group, y'all should have told that to her. You see, like, she has never not been naked in this house, I think, since she came in. So y'all should be like, girl, you can't do that everywhere. Like, that should have been clearly defined. Like, I don't like how it's just how, and I'm hoping maybe next episode they'll talk about it, but it just seems like everybody knows who Shanice is and everybody's just letting her be until she does something that makes them mad. But that kind of conversation is kind of how the episode ends. So we don't get to see the rose day. We don't get to see Alex drink. We don't see what the continuation of it is, which again, I'm excited to see. I don't know about y'all. I feel like this show has drama. It's not like high drama. It's a little bit more low. Oh, well, they had high drama a little bit, but it's like, I don't know. I feel like the show is doing well. I like how it's going. I like the way it's trending. The one thing I will say is that I don't think it's fair that they have Preston there as a gay man, but they didn't give him any prospects in the house, right? Like, Jasmine is over here trying to hook everybody up. Like, oh, everybody needs somebody. Oh, who do you like? Who do you like? Y'all didn't even bring one other gay person. Like, you should have at least brought two so they could have had their pick, or maybe four, total, so they could have had their pick or looked around. But y'all put Preston in a house where no one else is gay and everybody else is trying to hook up or see who they like. And you're kind of leaving Preston there to just be there. And I don't think that's fair to him. I think that it's really unfair, and they should have done better at that. Like, I'm like, you just want him here for his zingers, like his commentary. I mean, he's funny as hell and I love him in the house, but I just don't think it's fair that there isn't that pressure for him to hook up. And it's not a pressure, but he doesn't even have the option. I'll be honest, and Jason, please don't be offended if you ever watch this video, but I thought that's what you were coming to do. I thought he was coming in to be that option for Preston, but then he's a straight male and he has a kid and whatever. So he is not an option for Preston. But, that's what I thought he was there for. I was like, okay, finally, like, at least another gay person. Like, he got to have someone to be, to have a key with or something. Like, it wasn't really fair to Preston. But other than that, I think the show is good. I think what they're doing is good. I'm sad that the season is almost over, and I hope they get a reunion, and I hope they get a season 2. So here's to hoping. But I hope you guys join me back next week for episode 7 when I recap it. I'm super excited, and I hope you guys have a good night. Bye.